Okay, I'm going to cover this real quick to deal with mowg-sitemap.html when people say it's missing or it's showing up in the wrong domain. I've seen people do that. They have an add-on domain and they create a run on their add-on. And for whatever reason, they can't find their Moji sitemap. And then when they check the top level domain and they look at the sitemap there, voila, there it is, added to all the projects they did on their top level domain. Well, that shouldn't happen. I mean, all the sitemaps should be separate to their own domain, whether it's a top level domain or an add-on domain. So let me review this real fast just to make sure people understand how the Moji-sitemap works, okay? Let's say you got your top level domain. I'm just going to cover the four cases real quick. TLD.com, okay? Topleveldomain.com. When you do a run, your domain name and some kind of a project folder need to be here. All right, project name, project folder, whatever it is. Let me just say project name. Okay, that means on the FTP path, it's probably going to look like this, tld.com, and I shouldn't do this in caps, right? I'm trying to teach guys, quit using caps when you're not supposed to use caps. Use caps for content or when they're required, when it's exactly right. Otherwise, use lower cases so you don't confuse people and stuff. But when you do the runs, you just do the runs normally. Anyway, tld.com/. Okay, we know we need this, public HTML. Okay, if you're using our recommended hosting, and you guys know where that is, right? I'll point this out real fast and then move right on. By the way, if you didn't see, I got a testimonials page here with some testimonials on it. I got to add more soon. Here's the resources page. This is our recommended choice because they don't throttle you on uploads. And for those guys who go out of their way to buy something cheaper or different, very often you're going to hate it and come back and get this anyway. Those of you with GoDaddy websites, you're going to hate it and come back and get this too. We have a lot of feedback in the forums about GoDaddy websites are not worth spit when it comes to ranking. As far as we can tell, all right, everything we've done, not working. Can't rank those things. Got to come back and get a real hosting account, not like your $6 subpartition of a subpartition, like a microscopic dot on a microscopic dot on a microscopic dot of a thing, of a website, and like you get at GoDaddy. All right, forget it. What was I saying? Something else. All right, having said all that, let me come back. Here we go. TLD project name, tld.com/public_html/ and as we know, project name, right? These things have to match. Control C, Control V. Got it. Now, when you do this, where does the Moji sitemap belong? Right here, right above. Okay, it belongs right inside public_html. It should be right next to the project name folder. So if you log on to FTP and you log into your tld.com and you go inside the public_html folder, you should see two things right next to each other, basically. One is this, and then you'll see however many other folders and files in here. But then another thing you'll see is the Moji-sitemap should be right there. It should be literally right here. And that means it is not inside your project name folder. Control C. Okay. All right. It is not in there unless well, you can't make it do that. It won't do that. So the moji-sitemap.html gets produced, but not inside your project folder. It's supposed to be in the root so that all your runs you do, the sitemaps can be appended to the moji-sitemap.html page by the software. You must use the software for it to work. It cannot create the moji-sitemap.html page. It has to connect by FTP and go look at yours if it exists already, which would be here in the root. Download it, add the new link for this thing if it doesn't already exist, and then re-upload it to overwrite so that this is now updated to include this thing that you just did. And if you do a run on the same folder, which you can, you come back, you do 1,000 pages, then you come back later in a week or so and do another 1,000 into the same exact project. So it's the same project name in both places. I don't want that there, don't want it to confuse. But anyway, if you do that, then it's the Moji Pro that has to download all those individual sitemap pages inside all those projects that relate, like this one, if this is the one you're doing, and it has to rename the old sitemap to sitemap1.html and the old sitemap.txt to sitemap1.txt. Then when it creates the new sitemaps, it also has to add the links to the sitemap1.html, sitemap1.txt, so that all these things are intact. And so you cannot just create the pages locally and then upload them into the same folders unless you go do all that manual stuff yourself. And that's a pain. Don't do it. Use the Moji Pro's FTP interface. I know it's slow because it only runs on one thread to upload it. What you'll learn is you can have a project name, one folder running and another copy in another window, another copy in another window, another copy in another window, and you have them all going at the same time. So you are using 5 threads at once. You're uploading 1,000 pages here, while at the exact same time another 1,000 here, at the same time another 1,000 here, and at the same time another 1,000 there. Whatever that means, just different project names. All right, what's my point? Moji Sitemap, how does that work? Moji Sitemap doesn't look at this at all. This is for sitemaps and for the front page of your site and everything. You should be able to visit it in a browser and see it when you're done. But mowg-sitemap.html figures out where it belongs from down here. It really figures out from where it belongs from the website. But the idea in this path, if this is again the default user, right? So we're coming in through the top, and that's like the default path. Here's how it works. Since this is where your project goes, then the Moji-sitemap goes one level up. What if we had an add-on domain? How does that work? The same way. Watch. addondomain.com/project name, and so that's topleveldomain.com/public_html/addondomain/project name. This is where your production goes, and so where do you think the Moji sitemap should go in this case? One level up. Now, if you watched our other video that showed a common mistake people make when they create subdomains on add-on domains, is that the hosting control panel is going to suggest this already. And you're going to think, okay, because you're going to see this, public_html/project-name. If you don't get what I mean, go watch that other video I put out about sticking subdomains on add-on domains. That's a problem caused by the hosting control panel. Just the quickest way to show you right now will be like this. Okay, here is the problem, and here's the reason your sitemaps show up in the wrong place. Okay, if you go to your subdomains, okay, and you're going to create project, whatever it is, whatever you're calling it, project-moji-opportunities.com is going to be my add-on domain. It wants to put the whole thing right here, public_HTML project. Well, that cannot work now, can it? There's supposed to be the add-on domain first. This needs to be whatever that folder is, opportunities/project, because that's where moji-opportunities.com is assigned, Moji Opportunities. If I don't use that piece, guess where my sitemap's going to go? My moji-sitemap.html? If I don't have that piece, if I don't have this add-on folder, because it needs to be there. If I don't have it there, then the Moji sitemap won't show up in the root of the add-on. It actually is just going to show up because look at how it would look. Okay, it would be like that. And then the Moji sitemap shows up here. Guess what? That's the top level domains Moji sitemap. That's wrong, isn't it? I want the sitemap for the add-on domain to be in the root of the add-on. So it's got to wind up here, which means that this is where that subdomain should go, where that project should go. Same thing with subdomains. The exact same thing with subdomains. Control X. Okay, here we go. All right. Say it's like this, and this is going to be my top level domain. Okay, so topleveldomain.com/public_html/ and that'll be project name. Okay, because that's the idea. The project name subdomain is getting assigned to this folder for the top level domain. So yeah, it should just go one deep. It's the top level domain. This acts like a project folder. It acts just like this, but we don't need one now because we're replacing it with a subdomain. Okay, with that in mind, tld.com/public_html/project name is where it does the run for real. And then, of course, the Moji sitemap goes one level up. All right, with or without the slash doesn't matter. Okay, and you can leave slashes in here on your productions. That doesn't matter either, whether you have it or not. Okay, but the final piece, what about the add-on domain? That's what I was just covering. Project name.addondomain.com. You also need the same concept. This needs to include add-on before it gets to project whatever it is, project name, right? Which would be the idea of project dash name in this case, right? Make sure it always matches up. It wants to do that. Wrong. That's for my subdomain. So it's got to be emoji opportunity slash project name. Got it? Now, if you do it right in both places, then your sitemaps will work right. Everything will work right. Everything is very good. Quick notes. Do not use subdomains with projects. Don't do this. This is wrong. Don't do it. Moji Pro wasn't really designed to do this, and don't do it. Then it thinks there needs to be a project folder on the index page. By that, what do I mean, by the way? Because people wonder about that all the time, too. I've redone this, so I got to figure out which one was. There's just so many, and they're all over the place. Wherever they are, gosh, I mean, I just got to come back and find more. Just so mine. V3 public, V3. Okay, fine. There's an index.html edit which has project tokens. Okay, and what I mean by that is there's a token called project. It's domain slash project slash. Where do you think the project is read from? It's domain slash project slash whatever comes off the CSV file. What do you think project is read from? Right here. This is a project. The very fact that whatever came after the first slash, in other words, here's how it would normally be. With or without www dot does not matter. But here's what it is. Moji Pro recognizes that this is a domain name. Okay? And then if you put a slash and you stick something in here, it recognizes that this is a project name. That is the project. So if you do a run and it says you're missing this, that means you did not put this here. You have to have it here and here, right? It's got to be in both places, whether you like it or not. Now, when you do subdomains, you do not have projects. It's wrong. We did subdomains to not have projects. There are no projects in the subdomains. We took them out. It's just domain slash var 2001. Okay, like that. But what does that mean? That means no project name, but the domain includes it. That's what it means. Domain is with whatever the project is. Okay? That still means, and think about it, if you have project.addon.com, that means topleveldomain.com slash public underscore HTML slash addon slash project. The name could be different, but why make it different? Make it the same for simplicity so you don't confuse yourself on these things. Only make it different if you're trying to create or make this go to a different project than one you did before as a project like that. And so if you already had that and you had a point in here, well, you could do that with a subdomain too, but very often people want to keep these things separate somehow just to make sure they don't confuse them. So then you might do like this. If you have it here, it no longer goes here. Don't have it twice. Just have it in one place or the other. That's the point. So down here, you might call it something like subs, all right, for your own usage so that you know that this is the sub or sub, whatever, of that project. So if it was like my project, then it would be like my dash project dash sub, whatever, you know, homeopathy dash Wisconsin dash sub. But why do that? Just flip it around. Wisconsin dash homeopathy instead of homeopathy dash Wisconsin. Got it? And that's what I'm saying. This would be like my dash project in this case, right? Whoops. Anyway, I think I beat this horse to death. Either your project is at the beginning of the domain or the end of the domain up here. It has to be there in only one spot, cannot be in two. If you treat it as a subdomain, then you have to create the association on your hosting account. You guys understand that? We covered that before anyway. And then in a different video anyway. Some people ask, where do you cover that? And the answer is in a different video. It's like setting up a domain and using FTP. It's basics right here. Okay? How to get a domain and a hosting account. How to use FTP. You don't really need FTP for our purposes anymore, but it's still good to know. Adding a new domain to a hosting account, then summarizing these first three steps. Okay, fine. That's for add-on domains. What about subdomains? Different place, further along. I think it's additional ranking, speed, and power. Yeah, how to make subdomains and how to use Google Webmasters. Get around to watching all these videos. They're good for you. Always watch all the updates. They do not They're not cumulative as we go. They're pieces. Updates over each piece as we go. Otherwise, one video would get too insanely long going back in time over updates. I'd hate to imagine doing one video over all the updates from the very, very beginning of the Moji toolbar or the very, very beginning of the Moji Pro interface. It would be crazy long because there are just tons of updates over the past 4 years. All right, having said all that, okay, I think I'm through with that, and I think you get the point. Down here, always, whatever your pieces are, my project's a subdomain on an add-on. That means we need top level, public HTML, add-on, and then the subdomain folder, right? You should see 4 things happening up here as far as down here goes, okay? That's kind of how it should look. And that's basically the same as addondomain.com slash my project, right? But if you do that and it's not a sub, then of course, make sure it has to match. This must be this, okay? And the only reason it would not match in the other case, if you do like subs, is because that is the relationship you would have made in your hosting account for that subdomain. You would have called my-project dot. You would have said that belongs to add-on slash my-project subs. Okay? And that way, this is the true path where the pages should go such that this will work, or the other one, of course. That's what I meant. Okay, there's all these combinations. All right, I hope I didn't confuse you more than I helped you. I think you get the point. My-project.addondomain.com requires 3 things. Top-level domain, public HTML, add-on, my project subs. My-product.com top-level-domain.com requires just 3 things. Top-level domain slash public underscore HTML slash my project and maybe subs if that's exactly what you did. If you said in your hosting account that this subdomain right here needs to fit into here, okay, and that is going to be the name you give it, then fine, you can do that. Normally though, you're going to want this to be the same name as that unless you already use this as a project, that kind of thing. And then of course the final point, as you guys know from the V3 already, okay, because I've had people do this too, they try to make a subdomain run, okay, using the wrong folder. They'll try to do it inside the V4, for example, and they'll try to do their subdomain run using this. You can't edit. If it says project in here anywhere, and it will, you can do an edit find and you'll see a project token. That means it cannot do a subdomain. You have to use index-subdomains.html because we took out all the project tokens. You can take the project tokens out. You can come up with a copy, call it index-subdomains, take the project tokens out, just edit, replace to delete all of that with a leading slash or a trailing slash, and you're good to go. And we teach people that all the time. All right. All right, I think I've hit that. There's just too many directions I could go from here, so I'm going to cut the video off. Hope that helped. I think it will. I think it will with a lot of confusion that people have about how these get set up. All right, here we go. See ya.